license and registration, he can sense your aggravation.
On the head of the fallen angel.
When the world is muttering under the floorboards, stomp even louder.
Time.
Let them know you are alive today.
Or unhum.
Did you know that your hands came with a ripple effect?
Whisper tones unraveling like silk.
Blood, sweat, and tears win by any means poetry.
Sway, look at me. Is a piece of the pie too good for me?
Some may call it rock the mic. We call it poetry.
I proudly wave the flag, America's flag, but only if the stars aren't dipped with daggers and the stripes don't strangle hopes, dreams, and aspirations. I proudly wave the flag, America's flag, the flag of those who know justice and liberty must be unilaterally dispensed within and beyond her shores. I proudly wave the flag, America's flag, the flag of citizens of conscience who never hide behind it. Citizens who refuse to be blind to crimes falsely committed in her name. Citizens who wave it to confront bigotry and shame. Denouncing venomous flags that once waved and those still waving on ships which enslave through cargo holds of death and destruction. I proudly wave the flag and stand firm, knowing my nation's integrity guides how high the flag will fly. I wave it and shout welcoming cries to new tomorrows where equality in boardrooms, courtrooms, and classrooms is a reality for all citizens of this country. I proudly wave the flag and will not be divided from my sisters and brothers by lesser views that would hold me from my rightful pride. I decry all who dishonor and disgrace with fabricated stories of guts and glory what the flag represents. Those boasting with arrogance and greed of a righteous might while maligning national pride. I proudly wave the flag and continue to do my part, ensuring democracy is strong within our shores, removing barriers, opening doors, and yes, remembering when. So for the elders, the children, and all of tomorrow's champions who fervently search the horizon to see if the flag waves for them, I stand vigilant and proudly wave the flag. Hello and welcome to Sojourn with Words, right here on CTV, where we present the best writers and poets and persons that have stories worthy of learning about. Well, today is no exception because actually today, a very good friend of mine that I've known for several years named Richard Epstein is going to be our guest poet. And let me tell you a little bit about Richard. But first, Richard, hi, welcome to Sojourn with Words.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And let me tell our viewers a little bit about you. Richard Epstein is a resident of Silver Spring, Maryland. He's hosted a venue for veterans on the National Mall for 25 years and co-hosted a poetry workshop series at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center and at Alfio Restaurant in Bethesda, Maryland, with Dr. Fred Foote, Captain, U.S. Navy retired, as a part of the Veterans Writing Project founded by Lieutenant Colonel Ron Capps. Now, Richard has featured at the Philadelphia Ethical Society, Dog Tag Bakery in Georgetown, the Aspen Hill Library, the Evil Grin Reading Series, Mariposa Reading Series, the Kensington Row Bookshop, Annapolis Bookstore, and recently in April 2024 at the Silver Spring Civic Center. Richard has produced an anthology of veteran poetry read on the National Mall and has authored 2 books of poetry about his time in Southeast Asia. His poetry has appeared in Maryland Bard's Poetry Review, the Beltway Poetry Quarterly, Poetica, War, Literature and the Arts, USAF Academy, Military Review, Army University Press, The Wrath-Bearing Tree, Schuylkill Valley Journal, and others. He's got I think there's 6 books listed here, but I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about those. But some of the titles include Epstein, Another Time, Another Place, Thank You for Your Service, Looking Back, Growing Up Jewish, From Temple to Shul, A Long Way to Tipperary. So, Richard, I think the viewers have a little bit of, a sense of who you are, and today you're going to fill in the blanks. So once again, Richard Epstein, thank you for being a guest here on Sojourn with Words, and welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This is a real pleasure. I enjoy it very much.
Well, I think back to the number of years we've known one another, and I said, my goodness, what took me so long to bring this wonderful poet on Sojourn with Words? You have a special, a niche that really we should have highlighted long before now, because as a veteran and as a poet, you have a voice that needs to be heard. And I'm very, very honored to present you to our viewers. Why don't you tell our viewers just a little bit about, when and where we first met?
I think probably at the Mariposa Reading Series in Beltsville or Greenbelt, Maryland. Is that right?
Oh my goodness. I was thinking it was actually on the National Mall, but that makes sense because I probably found out about your series on the National Mall at Mariposa. So you're right.
That's correct. And we went to a couple retreats.
Yes.
And you started coming down to the mall.
Waynesboro, was it Waynesboro, Pennsylvania?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Those were great retreats. Maritza Rivera hosted those series, and she's recently now traveled as far as Cuba with Puerto Rico with that retreat. So all hats off to Maritza Rivera.
I think she's planning for Cuba next.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you're associated with veterans. Tell us a little bit about your military service, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Well, I joined the Army in 1965, went to northeastern Thailand for a year, and then back to Fort Monmouth, where I became an instructor. So that's where I really started writing. I became a technical writer because I was working on a new course being presented to the Army, and it involved coursework development.
Okay. And was that something that you traveled a bit to do, or were the veterans all pretty much, they came to you at a particular location?
After I got out of the Army, I went back to Vietnam for 3 years, and I was working on the same equipment that I worked with in the military. So I was doing a lot of writing for it. We were doing operation and maintenance manuals. So that started my career as a technical writer. And that really wasn't very creative or fulfilling. So I guess that's where I started in poetry. And trying to process my experience, what I was doing, where I was. And since I spent so much time in the military and in Southeast Asia, that became the primary focus of what I was writing.
So how did it work for you to go from technical writing to creative writing and bring other writers into your circle? How did that come about?
It wasn't the easiest transition. A matter of fact, I'm still transitioning because as a technical writer, you're taught to be very, very concise, not a lot of adjectives. So I'm still working on my craft as a matter of fact. But I went down to the mall and they had a tent down there and they were doing poetry. And as I said, I was documenting a lot of my experience in Vietnam. So that kind of really overtook me. It just kind of encouraged me to keep on doing what I was doing, writing, and then reading down there. And in the process, of course, I met quite a few poets and authors and got involved with them. So now there's writing groups all over the place that focus on veteran writers. So I'm pretty involved with it, and that keeps me going and keeps me interested.
Okay. So you came by way of technical writing to creative writing, pulling in the veteran community. How did the what is it, the group that you now host for the past 25 years, how did that specifically come about? Or did you take that on from another writer or another host who was doing it before you?
That's exactly what happened. I started to participate with them and simply help them out. And then one year they just all disappeared. They moved and that left me holding the bag, but it was quite enjoyable. It was an outlet for a lot of other people who normally would not have that outlet and venue. I was encouraging them to write and they were encouraging me to write. So we kept it on up.
Okay. So do you participate in writing circles or poetry series that are not veteran related, or do you exclusively work with and partner with veterans as far as your creative writings are concerned?
I do both. I'm not limiting myself to writing just about the war experience. I mean, poetry is poetry. It's typically emotion based. I write about whatever bothers me subconsciously, I guess. I mean, the words would be just mulling around and I'd find an outlet on the paper.
Okay. So if you were to say, this is what you are best known for, certainly we know about the veterans writing support for the veterans community, but stylistically, are you one to work with form writing such as tanka and haiku and sonnets, or are you more of a free verse writer? Tell us about your stylistic approach.
Typically free verse. I mean, I'm just so amazed that I could get from whatever is in my head onto a piece of paper. I know that there's a good case for form, just as the form that you use on the paper loans itself to the type of writing that you're doing. So I wouldn't knock it. Maybe I'll get there someday, but now I'm just trying to improve my craft and express myself as best as I can.
Okay. Are there any particular writing workshops that you would recommend to other veterans? Let's start with the veteran community.
Sure.
Yes, tell us about those.
There's a group called Brothers and Sisters Like These out of North Carolina, and they meet once a month, as a matter of fact, and they do readings locally and internationally. There's a group called Warrior Poets. That's also international. There's groups all over the States, and they typically work by Zoom, and they give you prompts, or you'll read a poem and then write your response to the poem. So there are quite a few groups out there.
Okay. Well, one final question before we can get a chance to hear some of your wonderful poetry, and that is, because you are a seasoned writer and you have many avenues that you travel, both from your veteran community and also the fact that you've traveled quite extensively. I mean, you've been across the waters and you've traveled North Carolina, I suspect as much. But tell us, what advice would you give to writers that want to figure out how how to start their toe in the water? Where to begin?
Number one, I would say read good poetry, get a good anthology. I mean, I'm so enamored with the anthologies that are out there.
Yes.
I probably could live with them. You could do a search on the internet, for local groups that are right in your neighborhood that meet and provide constructive criticism and then encourage your writing abilities. Those would be the three primary things that I would do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Richard, thank you for sharing about yourself and also your wealth of knowledge about writing and differentiating for our viewers the difference between technical writing and creative writing. It is definitely worlds apart. And
Correct.
I think that's something we share. In my life before retirement, I was a technical writer, and creative writing came to me much later in life. So I do understand the disciplines are totally different.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's now get ready to share some of your poetry. We understand that you have several pieces that you'd like to share, so we're going to try to fit them in. Today, ladies and gentlemen, viewers here on Sojourn with Words, it is my absolute honor and privilege to present Richard Epstein. And he is someone that I believe you're going to enjoy his works. Very relatable, whether you're a veteran or not. I've participated with his Memorial Day Writers Project down on the National Mall here in Washington, D.C. for several years, and they've welcomed me, although they know I'm not a veteran, but I am supportive of our persons who have gone abroad and have come back with stories that need to be shared. So today, Richard Epstein. Please, Richard, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Since it's going to be so hot today, why don't I start with something about Christmas Eve? And this is a childhood memory. Christmas Eve. I wore socks on my hands as I played kick the can in the cobblestone court. My playmates asked me to sneak some of my mom's potato kugel and mundo bread. They promised to bring pierogies and kielbasa the next time we play. No one asked about the flickering candles in the front window of our house. No one asked why we didn't have a Christmas tree. That night, I sat on the parlor floor in front of the radio while Mom darned socks and Dad fell asleep with the newspaper held high in his hands. I listened to Buffalo Bob to see if Santa received my letter. I asked for a red flyer and a Captain Midnight secret decoder ring. Grandma stopped rocking and looked up from her knitting when she heard Buffalo Bob announce my name on the radio. "Was ist das?" she asked. After everyone was asleep, I tiptoed down the stairs and placed a glass of milk and Oreo cookies on top of the radio. I shut my eyes tight and made a wish for Santa to bring me something other than a dreidel, a cap, a bag of socks for my aunt, Hanukkah gelt, and a lump of coal. Childhood memory.
Oh, how wonderful. How wonderful. Thank you for bringing us into that reality, something that many of us don't think about. But yes, please continue, Richard, please.
And here's one called Before You Go. And this is thinking of my father. I want to know, before you go, the wisdom of your ways, how you circumvent the frustration of each day, and why you never seem to care what others think and say. You push a pencil behind your ear, shrug, and slowly walk away. The next day, I saw these words taped to my bedroom door. I like to walk the earth and tend to things that grow. I like to read and walk in deep forest and listen to the wind blow. I like warm sunshine on my face and cold moonlit snow. I like to hear the ice crack and groan as it ripples across the winter's lake. I like to know each plant and tree and the spirits that ride the wind. I like to walk within God's grace. This I know. This I know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Continue. The mic is all yours.
Wonderful. What an opportunity. This is a little bit more recent. It's called Day's End. She washes the last dish and tosses the dish rag across her right shoulder. She pushes on the screen door and leans out just in time to see the setting sun. Past the slate sidewalk and fieldstone wall stands a cornfield as far as the eye can see. She stares at the horizon, hoping to hear the evening meadowlark or warbler. Crows call in the distance. Nothing but crows. And here's one back to the remembering Vietnam, called Bamboo. He walks head bowed as he carries the weight of the world. He's my mailman. I thank him for the bills he brings. Without looking up, he says he gets them too. He turns to the path he makes to the house next door. He told me his son is scheduled to appear in court for car theft, but his son won't go. He says he'll cross that bridge when he gets there. He fled North Vietnam in 1952, walked for days without food to the south. He was forced to join the Viet Minh and later fought with the Viet Cong near Song Trang. He told me when he walks his route on a hot summer day, he sometimes hears whispering. When he looks up, there's always bamboo.
Okay.
I'm on a roll now.
Oh, please do. Keep going.
The dance. I can still see it. I hit him with the burst of my M16. He jumped up and danced. Everything turned gray. The bamboo stood silent, drooped its leaves. The earth stood still. Breathe, I said. Breathe. And here's one after a pretty horrific battle called Dac To. Like cordwood, we stack them end to end, the best use of available space. This is called Whacked, a conversation at the VA. When I said I was in Germany instead of Syria, it was a small white lie, so my folks wouldn't worry about where I was or what I do. I'm a sniper. I never told them that. I take lives, but I save them too. Would I shoot a civilian? You tell me who is a civilian and who is not. A teenager buries an IED. Is a teenager bearing an IED. I would deactivate him, remove the threat. He would cease to be. And when I came back to the States and I said, sometimes I drink a little to unwind before sleep, it means I can't sleep unless I drink myself to sleep. And that's when they come. And when I exhale, there, at the pause between the next in-breath, I think about it. Do I do it? Inhale, I mean. What if we didn't inhale? Got time for one more?
Absolutely. Maybe two. Maybe two.
Fantastic. Oh, I remember digging holes to plant tomatoes and corn on a 1-acre garden with my dad. I remember the first time I rode a bicycle. My father ran alongside, holding me upright as I rode down a steep hill. I remember losing a shoe at the Mid-Valley Drive-In at school the next day, and only one shoe. I remember throwing pebbles at my girlfriend's window, not knowing her mother switched rooms for the night. I remember driving my mother across country in my first car from Pennsylvania to Arizona with no first gear. I remember the silent embrace with my girl outside the train station before I went off to the Army. I remember the first time I ran to take cover in a sandbag bunker to wait out a late night mortar attack. I remember the little girl in rags who came through the tangle wire. We'd give her food, but she always saved it and took it home. I remember the laughing girls in black sarong bathing in a water well as mud-caked water buffalo stood watch. I remember coming back to the States like an out-of-body experience or sitting in the last row of a picture show. That's it.
Richard, I am just spellbound. The variety of what you chose to share, the beauty of what you shared today. I thank you for taking time to be with us because clearly you're a busy man. I'd like to make sure that our viewers have a way to be in touch with you if they would like to. Can you give us a contact point for viewers that want to be in touch?
Sure. How about my email?
That's fine.
Dick, D-I-C-K, my last name, Epstein, E-P-S-T-E-I-N, @hotmail.com. And I'd love to hear anybody who's interested in sharing poetry, maybe reviewing each other's work. I'm surely still up to that.
Thank you so much. I want to say to everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sojourn with Words. It's been my honor and privilege to present Richard Epstein, truly a writer, a creative writer who has much to share by way of poetry, but also he's written, some books that are not poetry, but tell his story about his experience overseas. So Richard, thank you again for being with us here on Sojourn with Words. I'm your host, Sistah Joy, right here on CTV in Prince George's County, Maryland. This is a virtual platform also, so our viewers are worldwide. And I hope you hear from some that are able to appreciate the messages and the poetry that we've shared today. This is our show for today. Be in touch. I'm Sistah Joy, and remember, pick up a pen and keep writing.
I was a technical sergeant, E6.
I served in Vietnam in 1969.
I am a U.S. Army veteran.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Try to always be there for each other.
I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I can't say that I have.
If you don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts, it can be really bad.
Eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
I guess it's a part of the military too, right? Service before self.
It was drilled in, service before self.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me, When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.